Hi, my name is Cecilia Rosales, and I'm going to go over my implementation of the peer teaching strategy in my mathematics lesson. This is a fourth grade classroom. Again, we're doing mathematics. I have 24 students, about age 9 to 10. The students are mostly low income, but some of them are middle class students. Generally, the students are performing below grade level in my class. I only have about 2 students who are either at or above grade level. The students will use place value to round numbers to the nearest thousandths place, and the standard is use place value understanding to round multi-digit whole numbers to any place. Okay, so the composite of a struggling student in my class. This is a student who loves math, but is struggling with place value because they cannot remember how to identify the place value of each digit, and so that's a struggle for them. I supply the student with a place value chart when working on rounding so that they're more focused on how to round than identifying place value. Another strategy is to use realia. So, for example, I'm going to use toy cars to kind of give them a visual of what it might look like when they're rounding. And I make sure that I partner this student with a peer teacher that they're actually comfortable with so that they can be productive together. For the classroom overall, the majority of the class seems to be enjoying math. However, this is the first time I teach in a breakout room. So the way that I can help improve the outcomes, that way I can supervise all the students, it will be to join the session twice with 2 devices. So in one device I can be in the main session. On the other device I'll be in the breakout room. That way I can supervise both meetings at the same time. Some prerequisite skills that the students need are that they should be able to read and write numbers in standard, expanded, and word form. They should recognize that multi-digit whole numbers, that in a multi-digit whole number, a digit in one place represents 10 times what it represents in the place to its right. And they should be able to compare multi-digit numbers. So understanding place value is going to allow the students to think more critically about the numbers that they're rounding. This unit is it's a 10-day lesson or unit, and rounding takes place at the end of the unit. We start with being able to read and write those numbers in standard, expanded, and word form. That will continue on to day 3. On day 4 is when we start the lesson on recognizing that in multi-digit whole numbers, a digit in one place represents 10 times a digit in the place to its right. Students will be able to recognize, or in this lesson, they'll be doing that for the 2 days. And then on day 6 is when we begin to compare multi-digit numbers. They're going to use the symbols greater than, less than, or equal to. And then on day 8, the rounding begins. I will continue rounding for day 9 as well as day 10. Here's my lesson plan for the rounding. I will begin with the pre-assessment to see where the kids are and see what they know. And this will guide my instruction. During the lesson, I use whiteboards, Kahoot, Think, Pair, Share, and peer teaching to check for understanding continuously. And at the end, there's a summative assessment. I'm going to be using notebooks because I would like the students to follow along with me as I take notes under the document camera. And that way they have something to refer to when they're working on their own. They're on their Chromebooks. I'm on my Chromebook, or my 2 computers. And we're also going to be doing whiteboards for some practice, and using the practice workbook for the handouts. At the beginning, I will assign the pre-assessment so that the students can take that assessment and see where they're at before the lesson. And then I will introduce rounding with a Pearson video. After the video, I will give some examples myself so they can take notes and write these in their notebooks, and kind of first just watch what I'm doing, and then we'll go ahead and do the We Will Round You video that I found. It kind of teaches the students the steps of rounding in a fun way. And we can do some guided practice after that so that we can work together on how to round those problems. And then towards the end of that lesson, I will make sure I provide I would assign the peer teacher with a partner that they can work with that's, productive partnership. so they can be successful on rounding. And then at the end of that, I will do a game of Kahoot just to kind of make it fun and also gather some more data on the students and what they know. And then I will assign some problems in their handout so they can do it independently. This also gives me an opportunity to see what they know. I can ask them in the chat what their answers are for certain problems. And then at the end of that, I can see who maybe needs a reteach. Here's a little snippet of the We Will Round You video. Okay. Here is the handout that we will be getting from the workbook. The students got these supplies already when we did distribution, so they had these workbooks already, and they'll be using this to follow along in guided practice as well as independent practice. Okay, so my findings were that many of the students really struggled with place value, and this really made it difficult for them to understand how to round. Some students when I make sure that they're paired for peer teaching, it needs to be really thoughtful because some students don't work well together. Either one's shy or they don't know each other so well or whatever the reason. And that really doesn't help them to kind of be successful in their partnership while they're learning rounding. Also, very explicit instructions need to be given for the peer teacher because then if they're not sure exactly how to do the peer teaching, they will more than likely just give the student answers. So one recommendation that I have is to use place value charts so that they're not hung up on place value when they're learning how to round. The other thing was when we're partnering the students for that peer teaching, we need to make sure that they're comfortable with each other so that they're in a productive relationship when they're learning rounding. And the other recommendation is that we need to have an instructional model for how to be a peer teacher so that the students can have something to follow along and they know exactly what's expected of them when they're working with their partner.